Now, are Republicans finally waking up and doing something that their constituents have been screaming about? Are they finally calling out the Democrats and putting their hypocrisy to the test? Well, it seems that it may actually be happening. And I can tell you, as someone who has been yelling at the TV and my cell phone, it's about time. Thanks to House Speaker Mike Johnson literally blowing up the deal, we will not be getting that abomination of a border bill that some Senate Republicans tried to pass off. A bill that was literally stuffed to the gills with more money going overseas than to our own southern border, along with many other poison pills. Instead, the Democrats are staring down the barrel of a clean funding bill for our closest and most important ally in the Middle East, Israel. Of course, taking to the fake news to try to convince the American people that it's Republicans playing a game and turning our backs on our allies.
Them playing games and their sinister political ploy of stripping aid to Israel away from aid to Ukraine and aid for humanitarian assistance to Gaza. In a desperate effort to just sink the whole package, they've now separated out Israel. But of course, President Biden has said he will veto that sinister political maneuver.
Yeah, political ploy. For the first time in a long time, Democrats will have to show their true colors with their actual vote. Sure, we've been watching the hypocrisy in full form for a long time, but they all too often avoid taking an actual vote on anything. They hide away, behind the establishment media that's all too happy to provide them cover. But today, the House GOP is turning the tables and calling out their hypocrisy.
We're sending the president, don't lose this fact, exactly what he asked for. And he's saying he's going to veto that? Israel is our closest ally and friend in the Middle East and one of our closest in history. Our nations are inextricably linked because of our joint Judeo-Christian heritage and our traditions and the great love that we have for our friends and allies there. And it is outrageous and shameful that the President of the United States would suggest that he would veto support for them in their hour of greatest need. Israel is fighting for their right to exist as a nation. And the President of the United States wants to play games with us? I don't think so. I don't think the American people are going to go along with that.
We know Joe Biden, Mitch McConnell, they're surely going to get a lot of airtime on the usual cast of characters networks. They'll be whining and blaming Trump and, of course, the MAGA Republicans. It's all par for the course. Just today in a speech, Joe Biden put his own hypocrisy on full display.
Folks, we've got to move past this toxic politics. It's time to stop playing games with the world waiting and watching. But the only reason the border is not secure is Donald Trump and his MAGA Republican friends. It's time for Republicans in the Congress to show a little courage, to show a little spine.
It's another step forward today. Republicans held Democrats' feet to the fire, forcing them to take a vote on the utter incompetence of Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas and his open border betrayal. I don't know what else you would call it. It's betrayal. Even though Mayorkas survived in a 216 to 214 vote, it forced Democrats to show where they stand and to defend their vote. If they want to ignore the crisis at the border, continue supporting Mayorkas' illegal efforts that result, by the way, in millions of unvetted, untracked, mostly military-age males, they're invading our country literally coast to coast, then make them say it with a vote. I call this smart politics, sound policy, and long overdue.
And the same administration that has refused to enforce our current border laws is rolling out to illegal immigrants this welcome mat, saying, come on in. Everybody can see what's happening here. Nothing less than American sovereignty is at stake. Our nation's sovereignty is what is at stake. This transcends politics. It transcends your political party. Everybody should understand that this is a fundamental responsibility of the federal government to secure the border. If you don't have a secure border, you don't have safety, you don't have security, and you don't have sovereignty.
I, for one, still can't believe it because when I was a member of Congress, I was consistently and routinely angered, frustrated with the lack of resolve to force up and down votes on singular issue bills. Speaker Boehner at the time, he just wouldn't do it. I remember being barraged with questions when constituents, came up to me when I returned from a weekend coming from, D.C. back to my district. And truthfully, I didn't have any answers to give them. Frankly, I was embarrassed because it didn't seem logical. I didn't know what to tell them. If Democrats want to balk at funding for Israel and provide de facto support for terrorists like Hamas, and they're working in tandem with the Houthis and Hezbollah. You know, they're trying to kill more American troops and prevent international shipping. Then let them defend their vote. The beauty of a clean bill and an up or down vote is that there is nothing to hide behind. There's no poison pills to blame. There's no ancillary issues to cry about. And there's nowhere to hide your hypocrisy. You know, today, despite losing the vote to impeach Mayorkas, it's a win for the bigger picture for democracy, a win for transparency, and most importantly, a win for the American people who are far too often left holding the bag and forgotten. It's a victory for regular order over backroom Senate deals. Today epitomizes why Donald Trump is so important to the future of the Republican Party, why it is in fact a movement, and that the idea of bold leadership is not some trite talking point or platitude. Donald Trump inspires boldness and unabashedly calls out the hypocrisy of the Democrats without fears or consternation.
The power of weaponry is so devastating today. And we're playing with a guy who can't put two sentences together. This is the guy.
What happens if he gets back in for 4 more years?
I think the country's finished. I do.
In what regard?
I think it's not going to be able to function. I think it's, look at even things like supply chains, things we never even heard about. You never heard that term. Everything worked under me. It all worked.
Yeah, it is about time everyone starts to follow his lead. Our country's literally circling the drain. It's a soft invasion of millions of illegal migrants, massive inflation, 2 different proxy wars, failing schools, and I can't listen, the list goes on. And I'm going to ask you, if not now, when? It's times like these that leadership is needed more than ever. With all the challenges we faced, we need a strident, deliberate commander-in-chief with a solid, loyal, and competent team to turn this country around. Frankly, I haven't been very optimistic about the team of legislators to support President Trump if he does, in fact, become our next president. I am very hopeful that he will. But today, I'm feeling a little better. The House GOP, they didn't shy away from the establishment media's attempt to malign their goals.
What does impeaching Secretary Mayorkas have to do with fixing the challenges at the border? The answer is absolutely nothing. This is a partisan political stunt.
It was all about politics, and Republicans were happy to go along with him. Politics is impeaching Secretary Mayorkas.
Impeachment is a political stunt, so let me just come out and say it.
They're abusing impeachment. They know that Mayorkas has done nothing to be impeached. They know that. This is a political stunt.
Yeah, political stunt. The House GOP stood strong in their attempt to hold the swamp accountable. And I believe the future is bright with some strong Republicans finally leading the way.